Cade lived alone at the edge of Sector 17. It was a dry, dusty land filled with sand, broken machines, and silence. He worked as a system mechanic, fixing old tech and monitoring energy fields for the Central Authority. Nothing ever changed. Until today, a loud buzzing sound broke the silence. Cade stepped outside and looked up. A black government drone hovered above his house, dropping a large metallic box with glowing red lines. It landed with a thud on the dirt, making a small cloud of dust rise around it. Cade frowned. He wasn't expecting any delivery. There was no message, no ID, no warning. Just a label on the side. From Central Authority, Level Red Assignment. Cade touched the box and felt it vibrating slightly, like something was alive inside. He slowly opened the lid, ready to run if something jumped out. But what he saw made his heart stop for a moment. A girl, maybe 19 or 20, lay curled inside. She had smooth, pale skin, short black hair, and wore a tight silver suit. She looked human, but too perfect, like she had been built. Not born. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing faint blue. She sat up without emotion and looked straight at him. "Hi," she said in a calm voice. "I'm the girl assigned to you by local authorities. Use me however you want." Cade stepped back, confused. "Wait, what? What's that even mean?" he asked, but she didn't answer. She climbed out of the box with no fear, no questions, and stood still, like she was waiting for orders. He noticed something strange, a glowing tattoo on her neck, made of alien symbols he had never seen before. He tried asking again, but she only repeated one thing. "I have no name. I am here for your use." That night, Cade couldn't sleep. He set up a bed for the girl in the spare room, but she didn't use it. When he got up to check on her, he found her standing in the dark, just outside his room, not moving, not blinking, just watching. "Do you sleep?" he asked. "No," she replied simply. "I wait." Cade didn't like this. She wasn't acting like a normal human, and definitely not like a machine either. She looked real, breathed, bled. But something was off. Too calm, too silent, too ready. The next day, he scanned her with his old med-check device. The results confused him more. She had a human body, but with strange implants in her spine and brain. The device called them Unknown Foreign Tech, Class X integration. It meant alien technology, buried deep inside her. "Who are you really?" he asked, but again, no answer. She only looked at him and said, "Protecting you is my mission." Later that evening, the power in the entire sector shut down. Cade ran to the control panel, but even backup power was gone. No lights, no signal. No contact with Central Authority, only silence and dark. He lit an old lamp and turned to speak to the girl, but she was already looking at the ceiling, as if she heard something above them. "Stay inside," she said sharply. "They are here." "Who's here?" he asked, heart beating fast, but she didn't reply. She moved to the door like a trained soldier, calm and ready. Cade followed her eyes, and for the first time, he saw fear. Not on her face, but in what she knew was coming. Suddenly, a loud boom came from the sky. Far off, near the old mountain ridge, a bright red light flashed. Something had entered the zone, something not human. The girl turned to Cade, her voice soft but serious. "They found me," she whispered, "and they won't stop until I'm gone." Cade stepped back, cold sweat on his forehead. "What are you?" he asked again, but his voice was low, almost afraid. She looked at him, and for the first time, her expression changed. Not cold, not robotic, but almost sad. "I don't know," she said, "but I think I was made to destroy." Outside, another explosion shook the ground. The drone alert system blinked red for the first time in years. Enemies were coming, and Cade had only one thing to protect. Him, the girl in the box. The night felt longer than usual. Cade stayed awake, sitting near the window with an old energy rifle on his lap. Outside, the desert was silent again, but he knew it wouldn't last. Whatever had come last night, it wasn't gone. It was waiting, watching. The girl, however, showed no fear. She stood near the wall, facing it, unmoving for hours, like a statue. Like something frozen between commands, Cade walked closer, his voice quiet. "You're not sleeping again." She didn't turn, didn't blink instead. She whispered something. Not in English, not in any Earth language he knew. It sounded alien, metallic, ancient. Her voice changed slightly, deeper. Like someone else was speaking through her, he stepped back. "What did you say?" No response then. Suddenly, her body trembled, just for a second. She turned around slowly, eyes wide as if waking up from a dream. "Was I talking?" she asked, her voice now soft and confused. Cade nodded slowly. "You spoke a language I've never heard before." Her face went pale. I didn't mean to," she said, touching the side of her head. "Sometimes, it happens." "What happens?" "Someone else takes over," she replied, barely above a whisper. Cade decided to test something. He powered up an old memory scanner, forbidden's tech, but he kept it hidden for emergencies. He pointed it at the girl. She didn't stop him, didn't flinch. The scanner hummed for a few seconds, then glitched hard. The screen flashed in red, multi-core consciousness detected, memory overlap warning. Cade stared at the message, shocked. "You've got more than one mind inside you," he said. She sat down slowly on the floor, her body shaking a little. "I know," she whispered. "Sometimes I remember faces I've never seen, places I've never been." That night, she had a dream. At least, that's what Cade thought. Until she started speaking in her sleep. Violent words, threats, alien commands. She repeated coordinates again and again. Places Cade knew were military zones. Then she screamed, loud and sharp. Cade rushed over to her, shaking her awake. Her eyes opened fast, glowing, not blue this time, but red. She looked around, wildly, breathing fast. Then suddenly, her eyes turned back to blue. She grabbed Cade's arm tight. "They're waking up," she said. "The other parts of me." Cade had to make a choice. Either turn her into the Central Authority, if they were even still listening, or find out the truth himself. He connected his system link to her neural chip. It was risky, maybe illegal, but he needed answers. The connection was rough, unstable, but images started flowing, memories broken, scattered, not hers alone, a child being pulled from a dark lab, strange alien doctors speaking in a language full of clicks and echoes. A girl in a glass chamber, screaming, surrounded by wires and light. Then war, fire, and death, all seen through her eyes, or something using her eyes. Cade pulled the plug, sweating. She was shaking again, repeating one word. Echocore. He had heard that name before. Deep in the archives of restricted data. Project Accord, a secret experiment between human scientists and alien tech engineers. A hybrid weapon program. She wasn't a soldier. She was a prototype. Suddenly, a low buzzing sound came from outside. Cade looked out the window. A surveillance drone was flying low across the desert, scanning the ground. But it wasn't human tech. It had the same glowing symbol as the one on the girl's neck. She saw it too, and without a word, moved like lightning. She jumped out the back window and vanished into the sand. By the time Cade reached the door, the drone had fallen, crashing into pieces. She had disabled it with a single hit. When she returned, her voice was cold again. "You shouldn't have connected to me," she said. "Now they know where I am." Cade stared at her, trying to understand. "What are you really?" She looked at the sky, eyes shining under the stars. "I don't know," she said. "But I think I was made for war." A deep humming sound filled the sky, louder this time. More drones, or worse, were coming. Cade felt it in his chest. Something big was about to begin, and he was no longer just a mechanic. He was now the guardian of something not fully human and not entirely safe. The sun didn't rise the next morning, not because it was missing, but because something was blocking it. Cade stepped outside and looked up. A massive object hung in the sky, silent, black and still. It wasn't moving. It wasn't falling. It was watching. Inside the house, the girl sat cross-legged on the floor, eyes closed, not sleeping, but sinking. Her body glowed faintly, her hands twitching like she was controlling something far away. Cade watched from the corner of the room, unsure if he should interrupt. Then she opened her eyes and whispered, "It's begun." He walked toward her, holding a data pad in his hand. "I scanned your DNA last night," he said. "I didn't want to, but I had to." She didn't speak, only nodded slightly. Cade showed her the screen. 2 DNA sequences ran side by side, one human, the other something else, alien, complex, ancient. "You're not just human," he said. "You're something new." She looked at the screen without surprise. "I always felt it," she said, "like there's someone else living inside me." That evening, they sat on the rooftop in silence. The black object still hovered above the clouds. Not moving, not speaking. Cade handed her an old photo he found inside his storage box, a faded image of a child in a science lab. To his shock, she recognized the place. "This was the testing center," she whispered. "It's where they turned me into this." The photo had a logo in the corner, EcoCore Initiative Biosymbiosis Division below it, the name of the head researcher, printed in small faded text, Dr. Ulrich Venn. Cade froze. That name was familiar. His father's old documents had that name too. Later that night, the girl had another episode. Her body stiffened, her eyes flashed red, and she began to speak in multiple voices, layered, overlapping, male and female, human and alien. Her hands moved like they were writing invisible codes in the air. Cade called her name, though she had none, and she didn't answer. Instead, her voice growled one phrase again and again. "The invasion has already started." Cade activated his security field to hold her in place, just in case, but she broke through it without touching it. She walked calmly toward him, eyes full of something dark, something beyond her control. Then suddenly, she collapsed, falling like a puppet whose strings were cut. She woke up an hour later, crying silently. "I saw a world burn," she whispered, "and I was the one doing it." Cade sat beside her, unsure what to say. She turned to him. "I'm not just a weapon," she said. "I'm a doorway." "A doorway to what?" "To them," she answered, pointing at the sky. "To the ones who made me." The next morning, Cade searched through his father's old files, hidden deep inside his encrypted logs. There it was, Project EcoCore, years ago. Earth scientists had secretly partnered with alien engineers to create hybrid warriors. But the plan failed. All subjects lost control, except one. She was called Echo 7, the girl in his house. As Cade read the final note in the file, his blood ran cold. If Echo 7 survives Phase 3, she will evolve. She will no longer be human or alien, but something neither side can control. That evening, they both sat in silence. Cade looked at her and asked softly, "Are you Echo 7? She nodded slowly. "I am." Suddenly, a red alert flashed on Cade's wall screen. Unknown aircraft approaching fast. No ID, no response. She stood up, voice calm but firm. "They found me again." Outside, 3 figures landed, tall, armored, not human. Their suits buzzed with strange energy, and on their helmets was the same glowing symbol as hers. She walked forward without fear. The one in the center stepped closer and spoke in perfect English. "We're not here to hurt you," he said. "We're here to stop what's inside you." Cade aimed his weapon at them. "She's not a threat," he shouted. The alien's helmet shifted, revealing a face both alien and human. "We are not here for her," he said slowly. "We are here to stop what she's about to become." The girl looked down at her hands. For the first time, they were glowing bright gold. Something inside her had awakened. Asterisk smoke rose slowly from the wreckage in the valley. Cade and the girl stood on the hill above it, watching the remains of the alien scout ship burn. It had crashed after a strange burst of energy shot from the girl's hand. Not a weapon, not a machine, but pure power. She hadn't known she could do it. Now they both did. Her hands were still warm, glowing faintly under the sunlight. I didn't try to destroy it, she whispered. It just happened. Cade didn't respond. His heart was still pounding. If she could bring down a flying ship with just a thought, what else was buried inside her? They didn't have time to wonder. A signal blared from Cade's old comlink. Attention, unauthorized biosignature detected. Recovery squad en route. The screen flashed red again and again. They're coming for you, Cade said. No, she replied quietly. They're coming for what's inside me. By nightfall, the sky turned dark, too dark for just clouds. 6 black dropships entered the atmosphere, moving in perfect silence. No lights, no heat, no engines. Just shadow and speed. Cade grabbed his pack and weapons. We run now, he said, but the girl didn't move. They'll follow, she said, no matter where we go. Still they ran, across the dry plains toward the broken ridges of Sector 18. Cade had stored an old mining crawler there, dusty but fast. They jumped in and sped off. Behind them, the ships touched down. And from them came not soldiers, but hunters. These weren't machines. And they weren't human either. They were quiet, tall, with glowing eyes and skin like glass armor. Half-grown, half-built. Each one had a mark carved into its chest. The same symbol the girl had on her neck. They were like her, but not. They were the failed ones. And now they were hunting the last working model, as they drove across the sands. A sudden blast hit the crawler. It spun violently, flipping twice before slamming into the ground. Cade blacked out for a moment. When he woke, the girl was gone. Only the wind moved now, whispering across the dunes. He got up, dizzy, and saw the hunters circling her in the distance. She stood still in the center, surrounded. They didn't attack. They just watched her, scanning, testing. Then one of them stepped forward. You are the last key, it said in a voice that sounded like static and breath. We were sent to retrieve you. I don't belong to anyone, she answered. Suddenly she moved, faster than Cade had ever seen. 1 second standing still, the next disarming 2 hunters at once. Their limbs flew across the sand, wires sparking, blue fluid spraying from the wounds. But one grabbed her from behind, injecting a black liquid into her neck. Her eyes dimmed. She dropped to her knees. Cade rushed forward, but a barrier stopped him cold. A hunter stood in front of him, tilting its head. You care about her, it said. Strange for a human. Cade raised his weapon. I won't let you take her. The hunter didn't laugh, didn't smile. It simply said, you think you're protecting her, but you're not. You're protecting the enemy. She's not one of you, the girl screamed, her voice echoing across the desert. Energy exploded from her body, a pulse wave that shattered rocks, cracked metal, and sent every hunter flying. Even the one in front of Cade froze, then dropped to its knees and melted into black ash. Cade ran to her side. She was shaking, barely conscious. Her hands were burned, her skin glowing with gold cracks. I lost control again, she said. I can't stop it. He held her shoulders. Then we find someone who can help us. She looked at him with tired eyes. There's only one place, she whispered, where the answers are buried. Where? The vault, she said. Where I was made. Cade had heard legends about it. An underground facility. Sealed decades ago, everyone said it was abandoned. But now, it was the only hope left. And the only place dangerous enough to break her completely, or save her for good. They looked at the wreckage behind them. Bodies of broken hunters. Twitching in the dust, the girl stood up slowly. I'm not running anymore, she said, and for the first time, Cade believed her. The vault wasn't on any map, but the girl didn't need directions. She walked like her feet remembered what her mind had forgotten, step by step, across the sharp rocks of Sector Black. She said nothing, but every mile they crossed, her eyes grew darker, more focused, more distant. Cade followed her in silence. The air grew colder as they got closer. The land changed. Green lights blinked from under the sand. Old sensors, still alive, still watching. No one had been here in 20 years, but the vault had never really shut down. They reached a steel hill, smooth and unnatural. The girl placed her hand on the center. Her symbol, the alien one on her neck, glowed bright. With a low hiss, the ground split open, metal doors rose, and beneath them, a staircase into darkness. "This is where they built me," she said. Cade held his breath. They stepped inside. The vault wasn't dead. It was humming, alive like a sleeping beast. Dim lights flickered. Screens still blinked with unread messages. Old test pods lined the walls, each one cracked or burned from the inside. "She wasn't the first," Cade whispered. "No," she replied. "I was the only one who survived." They found a control room deep underground. Dust covered everything, but the power was still running. Cade wiped off a screen and tapped the console. A welcome message flashed. "Welcome, Dr. Ulrich Venn." Cade froze. "That was my father's name," he said slowly. The girl turned toward him. "Then you were part of this too." The system unlocked thousands of files, audio logs, test records, experiment reports. They listened for hours. Each log revealed a piece of the truth. The girl, Echo 7, was part of a last-ditch program. Humans were losing the war against the alien invaders. So they made a weapon, not a bomb, not a machine, but a person. "She was designed to think like us," said a voice in one log, "but built to survive like them. We gave her human emotion, alien instinct, and neural firewalls to contain both. But if the core ever breaks," the scientist warned, "we won't be able to stop her." The final file was labeled, "Core Protocol Do Not Execute." Cade tapped it. A cold voice filled the room, robotic and final. "Core Protocol. Emergency termination sequence for Echo 7. Use only if subject is unstable, uncontrollable, or preparing to breach containment." Cade stared at the screen. There was a button, one press, and she would shut down permanently. No pain, no chaos, just silence. He looked at her. She stood by the window, watching her old training chamber. "I remember this place," she said. "I used to scream here." She walked over to a mirror on the wall, behind the glass. A small drawing was scratched into the metal, a child's handprint, and next to it, the name. "Echo. That was the first word I ever knew," she said. "They didn't give me a name, just that." Cade walked up behind her, unsure what to say. She turned around slowly. "I'm scared," she whispered. "I feel something inside me waking up, something not human." She held out her hand, her palm glowing gold again. "I don't know how much longer I can fight it." Cade opened the tablet. The button still blinked on the screen. She saw it and nodded. "That's the kill switch, isn't it?" He didn't answer, but his silence said everything. "I won't stop you," she said. "If you believe I'm just a weapon, push it." Cade looked at her face. Not robotic, not perfect. It was tired, scared, and human. "You want to be free," he said. She nodded once. "But I don't know what that means anymore," she said. "Do I get to choose who I become? Or am I just what they made me to be?" Suddenly, the vault lights went red. An alarm screamed, echoing down the halls. A deep voice came through the speakers, not human. "Core signal detected, asset located, execution team en route." Cade grabbed the tablet and crushed it. The kill switch shattered in his hands. He turned to her, breath sharp. "You're not a weapon," he said. "You're not a program. You're a person." She looked at him, eyes full of fire and fear. "Then let me prove it," she said. "Let me fight them my way." Outside, the ground shook. A massive ship descended toward the vault entrance. The real war was here now. And Echo 7, the girl once built for destruction, would have to decide whether to be their tool or her own kind of warrior. The vault was burning. Flames crawled across broken control panels. Sparks flew from the ceiling like angry fireflies. The echo of explosions rolled through the underground walls. Outside, the enemy ship loomed, waiting, watching. But inside, the real battle was just beginning. Cade and Echo 7 ran through the collapsing corridors. He was coughing, limping from a blast. She was silent, calm. her glowing hands lighting the way forward. Every door that tried to trap them, she melted. Every machine that tried to stop them, she tore apart. But something else was calling her, a voice, soft and familiar, whispering through the cums. "Come to me, daughter," it said. Her steps slowed. Cade turned to her, confused. "What is it?" "That voice," she said. "I know it." She looked toward the lower level. "It's him." They reached a room sealed by thick doors. Reinforced, layered, ancient. Echo 7 touched the panel, and the doors opened slowly. Inside stood an old chamber, and within it, a frozen man inside a cryopod. His face was aged, but familiar. Cade froze. It was his father, Dr. Ulrich Venn. The pod hissed, unlocking with a pulse of energy. The man opened his eyes slowly and looked at the girl first. "You survived," he said. Then his eyes moved to Cade. "And so did you." Cade stepped back, his voice shaking. "You were dead." "I had to disappear," Ulrich said. "I knew one day she would come looking for answers." Echo stepped forward. "You built me," she said, her voice cold. "I created you," he replied. "But not alone." He pointed to a photo on the wall. Faded but real, it showed a woman. Cade's mother, standing next to Dr. Venn in a lab, and next to her, a test tube labeled Echo 7. "She's my mother too?" Echo asked quietly. Ulrich nodded. "You were made using her DNA," he said. "You're not just a project. You're Cade's sister." The room fell silent. Cade looked at her, not as a weapon, not as a mystery, but as blood, family. "But why?" Cade asked. "Why turn her into a weapon?" Ulrich's eyes darkened. "Because we were desperate," he said. "We were losing Earth. We needed something more. A being that could survive any planet, control alien tech, and carry both races inside one body. But we didn't expect her to feel, to think, to question. And when she started showing emotion, they tried to erase her." Echo clenched her fists. "You let them hurt me." "I had no choice," he whispered. "But I never stopped watching over you. I built the core protocol not to kill you, but to slow you down. If they ever tried to control you." Outside, the ship's engines roared, shaking the vault. A countdown appeared on the walls. 10 minutes until lockdown breach. They were running out of time. Ulrich stepped closer. "There's a choice now," he said. "You can upload your mind to the master core, erase the alien signals, and be human forever. Or let the alien side win and lose yourself." Echo turned to Cade. He didn't say a word. He just looked at her, not with fear, but with trust. "I don't want to be a machine," she said. "And I don't want to be a puppet." "Then choose your path," Ulrich said. "Be who you want to be, not what we made you." Suddenly, a voice interrupted the silence. It came from Echo herself, but it wasn't hers. "You cannot erase us," the voice said. "She is ours." Her eyes flashed gold and black. Her body shivered. Two forces were pulling her, the alien code and the human memories. She dropped to her knees, screaming, hands over her head. Cade rushed forward, holding her shoulders. "Remember the picture," he said. "Remember your name." She looked at him through tears and light. "I don't have a name," she whispered. "Yes, you do," he said. "It's Echo, and you get to decide what that means." Suddenly, she stood up, strong again. The voice inside her screamed one last time, and then, silence. The alien energy faded from her skin. Her glow softened. No longer wild, but steady, she looked up at Ulrich. "I forgive you," she said. "But I'm not yours anymore." Then she looked at Cade. "I'm not a weapon," she said. "I'm a survivor." The countdown reached 0. Above them, the ship opened fire. Echo raised her hands, not to fight, but to protect. A golden shield burst from her, surrounding the vault for the first time. She was using her power not for destruction, but for something real, for family. The world had stopped moving. Above the desert, the alien warship hung like a silent god. Below it, Echo stood alone. her golden shield flickering like the last flame in a dead wind. Cade watched from behind the cracked glass of the vault. There was nothing he could do now. It was her fight. Her breath was slow, her body weak, but her eyes were calm. She had made her choice, not to be controlled, not to be erased, but to be herself, whatever that meant. The ship spoke in a deep, endless voice. "Return, Echo 7, you are incomplete. Without us." She stepped forward across the sand. "No," she said. "I'm not yours anymore." Lightning cracked across the sky as the ship opened its core. A massive energy beam formed, aimed straight at her. Cade slammed his fist against the glass. "Echo, get out of there," he shouted. But she didn't move. Inside her mind, the alien code pulsed like a storm. It told her to obey, to kneel, to give in. But then, another voice echoed through her thoughts. Softer human, warm, it was Cade's voice. "You're not a thing, Echo, you're not a tool. You choose who you are." She closed her eyes and remembered, not the pain, not the experiments, but the quiet moments, the rooftop, the stars, the old drawing in the vault, the day Cade called her sister, even when he didn't have to. When she opened her eyes, they glowed with both gold and blue, not alien, not human, but something new, something her own. She raised her hands to the sky. The beam from the ship fired, pure death, unstoppable. She didn't block it. She absorbed it. The power poured into her like fire through veins. Her body shook, cracking with light, her scream echoing across the mountains, but she held on. And when the beam faded, she was still standing. Now she held the energy in her hands. The same kind of energy that once built her, broke her, and tried to own her. She looked up at the ship. "I was made to follow," she said. "But now I lead." With a final breath, she launched the energy back, not to destroy, but to rewrite. The beam tore through the sky, wrapped around the ship like light vines. Its systems collapsed, its weapons vanished, and then, the ship simply shut down. No explosion, no scream, just silence. Back in the vault, Cade stepped outside. He walked across the quiet sand, past burned metal and falling ash. Echo stood in the center, eyes closed, hands falling to her sides. Her body was cracked, with glowing lines, her knees shaking. He caught her before she fell. "You did it," he whispered. She smiled faintly. "I didn't destroy," she said. "I chose." They sat under the stars. The desert quiet again, far in the distance. The sun began to rise, slow, soft, golden. Cade looked at her. "So, what now?" She looked at the horizon. "Now I live," she said. "Not as a project, not as a weapon, not as a mission, but as me then." She turned to him and said with a quiet laugh, "You never really used me." He smiled. "I never wanted to." She nodded. "I wanted to be used at first," she said, "because that's all I thought I was for. But now I know I was made for more, and with that, the girl once known as Echo 7 became something no file could explain, no program could control, no war could break. She became human.